Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and this morning we're visiting with Dr. Jonathan Larson. He's with the University of Kentucky. He's extension entomologist there. But let's talk about fire ants.
They are a very interesting insect. They're one that we had always sort of hoped we wouldn't have to deal with in Kentucky, but unfortunately in 2022, we started to see a small invasion in southeastern Kentucky, so over in the Whitley and McCreary area. As of right now, as of today, when we're talking on Zoom, they are still contained in that area. There have been a smattering of other reports from other counties, and historically, fire ants in Kentucky were associated with Western Kentucky, the land between the lakes area in particular. And so we're still monitoring out there. We're monitoring the counties that are near the Tennessee border, sort of across the state, and then those counties that are close to that Whitley and McCreary infestation.
What's the concern with this particular insect?
It's a stinging hazard. When we have these ants in any given area, they do sting people and animals. They're very aggressive when you disturb their home. If you read through anything from the South, you'll hear them talk a lot about boiling out. When you touch the nest, they start to really come up very quickly, and then they crawl up your feet and legs. And once they get into position, one of them will sting you, and it releases a pheromone that tells the others to initiate stinging. So it kind of happened seemingly all at once. The other thing you'll read about a lot in the Southern literature is getting lit up, which I think is a very apt description, where you all of a sudden have all of this fire ant venom inside of you. It does burn. It feels very tingly. It burns for a little bit, and then your skin, it starts to die at the sting site, and you'll get this white pustule. It looks like a pimple. So you'll get those all over wherever you've been stung. Some people can have an anaphylactic reaction. If you are susceptible to bee and wasp venom in that way, you may need to be extra careful around fire ants if they ever get into your community.
How do I distinguish a fire ant from our normal other ants that we have?
That's an excellent question, and it's the thing that kind of comes up every time we discuss this. There are some people in Kentucky who think we've always had fire ants. Other people who are convinced that they have them on their property right now. To actually identify a fire ant, you would need a microscope. You'd have to be counting their antenna segments and looking at different parts of their body. But sort of from I'd say the broader scale picture, if you see a weird mound of dirt in your yard, something that you haven't noticed before or on your property anywhere, if it's between 6 and 18 inches tall and it doesn't have a hole in the top, that could be a fire ant mound. Fire ants are notorious for making these kind of fluffy nests. They drag soil up out from below ground, and they build this topside penthouse area where they're going to live when it's cold. It's usually on a south-facing slope so they can collect sunlight. And then in the months of like October to February, it gets warmed up by the sun so they can stay active there. When it gets hot, they go below ground into the tunnels that they've created where it's cooler and moister so that they can stay nice and cool when it gets warm out.
And so those mounds are kind of a telltale sign for us to kind of look for.
Yes, there are other ant mounds that could look sort of similar, but once you get close to them, you'll notice the hole in the top, or you may notice quite large ants sort of foraging around it. Those would be field ants. We've also got another species called the Allegheny mound ant. They make huge mounds. Those are the ones that are most commonly confused for fire ants.
So if a homeowner or a property owner, they notice one of these mounds, what would you suggest they do?
I would say don't touch it. That's usually people's first inclination is to try and go and inspect it. If you see this, though, you can let us know about it through extension. You can talk to your local extension agent. You can also take a photograph and send it to the Department of Entomology, the Office of the State Entomologist, at an email address, reportapest@uky.edu. We like to receive the images of the mounds so that we can kind of make an estimation about if we want to send somebody to inspect it. We don't require you to go and try and collect ants because we don't want to push anybody towards getting stung, basically. But we would ask that you don't treat the mound. If we come and inspect it and we find that it is a fire ant mound, there may be a follow-up sort of treatment that we would offer.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate the information. Do we have a publication about fire ants?
We do. There's a new fact sheet on this that's just been published, and it goes through a lot of what we've discussed here today. It shows you some different photos of them, shows you the different sizes of the worker ants and some of the effects that they can have in an area.
I certainly appreciate the information. If you have questions, make sure to contact your local extension office. Thanks for watching and have a great day.